Regents Podcast. The Regents Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Regents Podcast. I'm Ellyn.
And I'm Aja.
And this week,
yes, we're going to talk about impact. Okay.
Yes.
Impact, legacy, the
Kick
things
it
that
off.
we are
Tell
fighting
us
for.
Tell us what we are about.
We are getting into the long term, like the long run, what we're doing all of this for, etc. Because it's easy to get caught up in the now, what's happening this year, 6 months, 1 year from now, but also just realizing what we want to stand for. And that really kind of presented itself to me when we unfortunately lost my great uncle a couple of weeks back. Uncle Wayne Bolt, affectionately known as Uncle Butch. He passed away and he left such an impact. I mean, the legacy is just, you can't even like put words to it, but so many people had such great things to say about who he was to them, how he made them feel. And forget accolades and awards. Like, he was rewarded and recognized for so much. There was literally like tables full of all the certificates and the awards and the trophies and stuff that he's amassed throughout his career, because he lived a life of service, like legit. So it was just beautiful to see. And then he had literally like 7 or 8 proclamations at the service from all the different community leaders in the senator's office and the county this and the state that. And it was just amazing.
Wow.
So, it really stood out to me, in reflection of the day. It's just like, I want to lead a life of service like that. I want to leave a legacy for my family and the people who I've impacted or inspired somewhere along the line in the work that I've done, just who I am as a person. It was just so important to see, and it really impacted me. So, I just really wanted to thank. And one of the things that I thought was really cool when I was young, I probably was like 16 or so, we had to write a mission statement. Like, what's your life's mission statement?
Oh, wow.
Right? I forget what teacher, or I think it was an after school program that I did.
Yeah.
It's probably the CRT Youth Artisan Program. But as I wrote this statement, it was about inspiring people. And I just knew, and I can still, and I'm sure you can relate to this too. It's like the people who inspire me, like, I have no words for how much they mean to me. Like, because I've seen so-and-so do this, I feel like I can do it too. And, they've encouraged me some way from near or far. They've mentored me from near or far. And I was just like, to inspire someone to act or to change or anything like that is just absolutely incredible. So that was a part of my mission statement. And as I fast forward 20 plus years later, I'm just like, you know what? That's still a mission. And I do want to leave an impact of or a legacy rather, of inspiration and all those types of things. And it's like, how do I do that? I continue to obviously go after the goals and, achieve and whatnot, but also just being present, seeing people and realizing that everyone's, I'm here to serve no matter what it is. I just want to be of service to people. So that's kind of where my head was. And I just wanted to speak on that in honor of my great uncle. And it was just something on my heart.
I think that it's so interesting, like the idea of like impact or legacy. I think like in society, there is such like an idea of like men leaving an impact in society, or like men thinking about legacy, or like, how will my name be remembered throughout history? And it's like, I think that is more like a historical thing that is like continued on in society, especially like the idea of like taking men's names when you get married and kids have the name of the, this idea of like legacy, like who will remember my name when I'm gone kind of thing. Yeah. But it's interesting to think about it like from our perspective and thinking about what does impact mean to me? Like, who do I feel impacted by? Who am I leaving an impact on? And it's like, it's more so like, like, how am I like being in service of other people? How am I thinking about like what I do and like the footprint I leave on this life and this earth. And it's like, maybe it's not this huge thing of like legacy and name being remembered and like put my name on buildings and like all this. And like, I think that it comes from like maybe not wanting those things, right? Like coming from a more, like coming from an altruistic place, and then those types of things like happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I want something to be dedicated to me. I don't want to pay to have my name on a library.
Of course not.
Do you know what I mean? Like I do think that there's a difference of like impact and being of service, and then like demanding legacy, like demanding like my name be put somewhere. And that's an interesting thing to think about. And then also think about like from a woman's perspective of like, you know, society. Do we think about legacy as women? Do we think about that in culture? Does culture think about it? Does culture recognize it? Like what is our legacy? You know, what is, you know, is legacy family? Is legacy your job, your business, how you impact people? I mean, I think it's all of it.
It's all those things.
But it is interesting. I don't know. It feels historically very gendered. And now it feels like if I look back and I think about like people who have had an impact on me, or people who've like, you know, I even just think about like my Aunt Carol is someone who I always think about. She was just somebody who, she passed away when I was 14, 15. I can't remember if it was my freshman or my sophomore year, 14, 15. But I was extremely close with her growing up. Like I'd always go spend a week with her in the summer, and she always like, she never, ever, 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 and I often heard this a lot when I was little, told me I was too much. You know, I think it's obvious I am a lot, but in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
I also think that I like was meant to believe that if you're like too much as a woman, like you're unlovable and like
really
you take up too much space. And I don't think it was ever like a direct, like, I don't think I don't think anybody ever was like, you're too much.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like, use your inside voice, or just like not now, or like there was just like a lot of like societal, like in school, like there was just like a lot of societal pressure of just like, don't be so much.
Okay.
You know? Because I think I came out the womb extra. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I was a fully formed, I was a fully formed baby, 8 pounds, like healthy baby. I think I was born 2 weeks late. My lungs were underdeveloped. So like, I'm this like fat little turkey in the NICU. Like, just causing commotion from jump. You know what I'm saying? Like I needed to have like a breathing apparatus. People had to learn how to do Heimlich or had to do a CPR with me.
Just for Ellyn.
Yeah, I came out and it was just like,
I'm here. Get used to it.
I'm here, and everybody needs to be aware and trained on how to keep me alive. Right. And it's just like, I don't know, like for me, that's something I struggle with in life, is just feeling like I'm too much, you're unlovable if you're too much. There's how will a man want you if you're too much. There's so much narrative in the world about that, but I always come back to thinking about, and I miss her so much, my Aunt Carol, and it gets me emotional because she would be so, oh my God, I get emotional every time I talk about her and I think about this. It's like, I wish she was here right now, because she would be so proud. Oh my God, I always get emotional. She'd be so proud. She'd be so excited for me. Like the fact that I moved to California, like she was just somebody who always made me feel like I was like exactly what I was supposed to be. Any interest, anything, she always like fanned the flames. Like she never ever made me feel anything but like supported and loved.
Yeah.
You know, and like she was like the first person, and I had been to funerals like plenty. It's kind of like a familial, or maybe it's Italian thing. I don't know. We went to a lot of funerals. Like you weren't really kept from them. Like you were always brought to the funerals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like the first one that I was like, I've like really felt the pain of
losing
like
her.
A person being gone in your life. And to me, that's impact. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's legacy, right? So it's like, it's not even like, you know, all of society having to know who you are, names on a building. Like it's just the impact that you leave on the people in your life. And like the idea that there were how many people that came to speak on behalf of like your great uncle. And it's like, the legacy you leave is like the impact that you leave on other people.
On people, exactly.
You know, and how
That's
you make them
exactly
feel.
what legacy is to me. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, sure. There's also another aspect of like the financial legacy that you leave behind or the
Oh, yeah.
inheritance, whatever you call that. But, you know, in my mind, when I think of, and what sparked this in my mind, specifically from Uncle Wayne's service, was the impact that he had on people. And I know for me, so he's my great uncle through marriage, right? This is Brandon's great uncle, like by blood.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that Uncle Wayne like totally just like made me feel so welcome and everything. Like on my wedding day, he gave me, without knowing, my something blue. He gave me his late wife's ring that had like the sapphire gemstone in it. Like he from jump has just always just like wrapped me in love and, you know, belonging and all of that type of stuff. So I was really grateful for that. And then even with, you know, my music, especially towards the last like year and a half, 2 years of his life, he supported me wholeheartedly. He was always, oh, my niece can sing. And I literally have a whole like clientele in Pennsylvania, a certain part of Pennsylvania, because of him. So, you know, to me, that was like the impact that he left on me. Like he believed in me, you know, and thankfully that's not foreign to me. I'm so grateful to have a supportive family and a really great support group of friends. But I'll never forget that. Like that impacted me. He was not just about like the lip service. He wasn't just saying it, which would have been more than enough, but he actually acted on it. Like he was literally introducing me, whatever he thought would like help take me to the next level. He was doing that. And so and to me, that was also an act of service, you know, like he lived a life of service because he was actually in law enforcement. He was a detective and, you know, he did so many things in the community. So that was literal service, right? But the way he served people and just making them like giving them a start and, you know, connecting them to different people and all this type of stuff. Like if he believed in you or if he was rooting for you, you knew it. And I just thought that was so amazing. And when you think about, and I think people do it like your aunt Carol, she did it without, and it's not something that you do with like that's not a legacy. Paying for your brick with your name and stuff like that. That might be nice because you helped sponsor something. Okay, fine. But the real legacy and impact is when, you know, the way that you treat people and, you know, the way you make them feel. Exactly that. Like the way you can still get full off of, you know, how your Aunt Carol made you feel 20 plus years ago when she was here. Yeah. And you'll never forget that. Like that's a legacy of love and acceptance and encouragement and support. Like that is just so rich because it's the footprint we want to leave on people. That's what matters the most. It has nothing to do with awards and accolades and, you know, the things you amass or whatever, but it's all about the people legacy. And, you know, I'm sure you probably heard that phrase where people are like, you die twice, you know, when you actually like pass away physically. Yeah. But when the last person like mentions your name. So you want to be remembered through the way people like talk about you and make you, you know, you live on, your spirit lives on because of the way people remember you, you know?
Oh my gosh. That makes me, this is so not off. That reminds me of in one of my favorite movies on the planet, Troy.
Okay.
There is the narrator and talks a lot about like, that's what I mean. I think about it like gender and everything because it's all about like all these men in this age. And it's like all these people's names that you like forget, but like, how does a name live on? You know, it's like the idea of like a name living on beyond your death and like how long does your name live on? And it's like, because you want to live on forever, or is it going to live on until like the last person you knew like died? And there was like a huge conversation about that in the movie of like, and you know, you can choose this path and you know, you'll have, you know, babies and family and, you know, your kids and their kids and they'll remember your name, but one day they will forget. Yeah. Or you could die in glory in battle. And your name will live on in infamy.
And the nations will,
yeah.
Right?
But it's so interesting because that was like how like a decision was presented to Brad Pitt's beautiful character. But it totally made it like totally sat with me. I mean, I love that movie top to bottom. but it really sat with me because like
I've never seen it.
Oh, of course not.
Of course.
Offshoot of this is like Aja watches, and we just make you watch stuff.
Yes.
And it's just me like looking at you like,
what do you think? You saw that?
What did you see that? Remember that. That's going to be important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't.
And it just really stuck with me. Like the idea of like, what's like, you know, what's important to different people. And like, would you want your name to live on forever? Would you want to like eventually let it die out? That was an interesting concept. But I do think that it's obviously a movie and fictionalized. But for like real people, for us, you know, there's also the idea of like doing things in the public, but then or also doing things like in private, you know?
Yeah.
You know, if
absolutely.
you do, you know, because I think about that sometimes of like, you know, pursuing what I would consider more public lives now, putting ourselves out into the world, putting our names out, putting our content out, putting our art out, putting our creativity into the world. Like you're putting yourself out into the world in a different way than I think we were when we were in an office.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
And thinking about what does that look like? I think when I was at work, I don't think I thought about like, you know, the same, how do I word this? Like the idea, like I won't work on any kind of like weight loss content. Like it's just not something I want to work on.
Right.
You know, but then when I was at my job, there were times when I'm working on things that like I didn't agree with.
You wouldn't even exactly.
But it's my job.
Yeah. And
but
I think
it's like,
that's so
you're layered, you're protected and layered by the company that I'm just my job.
I have to do my job.
I have to do my job, you know? Yeah. But now that it's like, it's fully me, it's like, even just deciding I won't work with weight loss companies is like, that's my small corner of the world, but it is what I'm putting into the world. Exactly. Or what I'm not putting into the world.
And I love that because you're more on purpose. You're making value-based decisions, not decisions based on circumstance or I don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Like it's us actually being mindful of the impact that the print that we make on, you know, the world and our corner of the world, whatever it is. And I love that because it does mean that you're more, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, purpose and intention all day long, all night long. And that's us living more on purpose, not by default.
Yeah. Oof. So. That is the word, living on purpose. I mean, truly, like I think about just like, I used to call it the hamster wheel. I just on the hamster wheel of life, and we went to college and we graduated and we got our jobs and we working, and you know, you just kind of like keep progressing, and job and married and kids and job and kids and married and kids and job and job and job and job and dead.
Yeah. job and job and job and dead.
You know, and it's just like, if you love your job, if you're happy in your career, it's a blessing.
It is.
That is a true blessing. But if you're in a position where you know that you're called to do something different, but it is outside of perhaps what you were raised to do, what your comfort is, you know, all the above, you know, anyone who takes this, I just got like a huge gust of cold air from outside. There's the marine layer is coming in right now. It was sunny and blue, and now it's like overcast right now. I could literally see like clouds going past my window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a super heavy, moist layer of air.
Moist.
Yeah, I don't know
that word again.
Dewy. Sorry, I got distracted. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. But anyway.
That's okay.
Just the idea of like stepping your foot off of the path that is what you've known.
Right. It's already laid out for you.
Yeah. Like you get a good job.
Right.
Like that's just like that is just like such like a drilled into me from jump.
Oh my gosh.
Like you get a good job.
It's such a phrase. Get a good job.
Yeah.
So-and-so has a good job.
Yeah. And then just like the pressure, and I've talked about this with my parents, just like they're so proud of us. Like me and my sister, they've always been so proud of us. They're so proud of us. They're so proud of us. And that's like, they don't even understand that there was like a pressure of like, I want to be child that they can be proud of. You know, they go to like a function and then they're like, yeah, Sarah's doing really
That's
well.
my
She just got
daughter.
promoted. Ellyn's doing really well. She works at Vogue. She just got promoted, or she's blah, blah, blah. She's doing this. She got promoted. And like, that's great. And so then it wasn't until I'm like, 33 I quit, 34. So I was 33 when I quit. I'm 34 now.
Yeah.
That I was like, it's not me not being a success or something that they can speak proudly of if they're like, yeah, she just quit her job and now she's just going to be a content creator.
Whatever, you're more than that.
Exactly. But like my diminishing way of thinking is unfortunately
processing.
like my issue,
She's working on it.
Yeah,
it's getting better.
Actively working on
every
it
day.
Every day. But there's there is that like feeling of like, okay, when like they go to the function of some kind, like,
what are they saying?
What were they going to say? Because I took a lot of pride in being successful in my career, even though it was like killing me.
Yeah.
It's like I took a lot of pride in it.
It sounds good on paper.
It sounds so good. It was so shiny. I mean, we've talked about this. Like my resume, like Lego, Condé Nast, Vogue, like Refinery 29, Vice. Like these are all shiny little names.
Well known.
Yeah. There's a lot of name, currency.
Yes.
In that. And I was really like, as much as I was unhappy, I was just like, well, I have that.
Yeah. Because society says that's good. And
but then it's like, you think about like the impact and how you're, even in the day to day, like I could feel like, there was days in each of the jobs where I felt very like prickly and I felt like very like rough edges because I just couldn't be myself. Yeah. And like, what kind of impact is that on people? Like your every intention is to be good and kind and like a good, nice person to work with and all of that and all of the above. But, when you're becoming hardened and you're becoming unhappy and it makes you feel rough and you are rough with other people, like what is that impact? And you really have to think about that. You really have to take a step back and be like, that's, I really anytime I felt myself being that way, I'd be like, this is not who I am.
Right.
Like I'm not the person that someone walks away from an interaction with and they don't feel good.
And feels bad. Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not somebody who does that. And I'm not somebody who wants to do that. So like that when I would catch myself being like really rough around the edges, because again, it's one thing to be a little bit rough and tumble with your own family, like your immediate family, everybody gets a different version of each other. When you're out in the world and you're being like a little bit rough, like, you have to take responsibility for like, I have to own that I'm like showing up in a way that I don't want to show up because that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And
so that's big time self-awareness. Not everybody has that, but some people have to work on it.
You want to talk about impact. You want to talk about like the legacy. It's like people that like don't know or don't think or aren't living on purpose and aren't living with intention and they're just out here. I call it like bumper cars. They're like bumper carring through life. They're just like, oh, you're feeling sorry. Oh,
whatever, gotta go.
Oh, offended you, sorry. Oh, gotta keep it moving. The ride's only going for so long. I'm just gonna not pay attention to how I'm impacting other people and live my life in my lane.
If you're hurt, that's on you.
You shouldn't feel the way you feel.
Exactly.
It's like,
hold
on.
Yeah.
And that's working for you? I don't know. But it is.
They don't know it.
It's the bumper cars. It's the hamster wheel. It's just like, it's this idea of barreling down a path and not really thinking about like, how the wake you leave behind, it's a lot.
What you're leaving behind. Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be aware. And really, when you become, like you said, hardened or calloused about, your day-to-day life and routine, that's already a red flag. Like if you just don't have any feelings at all about what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day and you're just kind of going through the motions, anytime we're going through the motions, it's never a good sign because there's no heart there. There's no passion. There's no life, vitality. And I think that's a part of, knowing the type of, or leaving rather an impact or a legacy behind. If you're just routine and day in, day out, what kind of legacy are you leaving? You like maybe the people that you work with, you make them feel good, but because you're there and you're not a jerk. But is that what you were purposed to do? Is that the legacy that you wanted to leave behind? What did your younger self say? And I think that's so crucial. Like, I've thought about that a lot since I've been on this journey for the past, almost a year, approaching a year. It's just like, what did my younger self do and think, and how am I honoring her and all the dreams
Mm.
and stuff that she had, and how she was so inspired and,
Oh,
so had such big dreams and all that type of stuff. It's like, and kids know a lot of times. And it's not naivete, the way a person thinks and dreams and stuff like that and sees the world is really something to harness and embrace and
that's
keep in touch with.
so spot on. It's like I was having a conversation about like inner child, and I in therapy like I would do a lot of like looking back, but I wouldn't do a lot of like inner child, like talking to your inner child or thinking about how does she feel, what would she think, like da da da. And I
Yeah.
recently in the last couple of months had a couple of times doing that, and I got so emotional. I could get emotional now because
Yeah.
to your point, like thinking back to like little Ellyn, little Aja, like how did she feel? What were her dreams? What did they like? What did she
Yeah.
want to become? And who were you before society started to like press in on you and tell you
Yeah.
that this is the way to be as a woman, or this is the
Right.
way
Or
to be
you
as a
can't do
person?
this,
You
or
can't do this,
yeah.
or you look this way, so you can't have that. Like
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff, I think about that, and it's like, if I could look at like little Ellyn and be like, you know, it took a while, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it's taken a while for me to kind of like step into like, this is what I want. This is what I want
Mm-hmm.
to do. And I'm going to do it until the wheels come off. But like,
That's right.
it's like, I'm fully prepared for like everything to go belly up, and I just go and move in back with my parents. Like if that's what it takes, like that's what it
Mm-hmm.
takes. But
Right.
like,
Right.
I'm just done being unhappy. I'm done hamster wheeling, and like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done like feeling like I'm not like living the version of myself in my life that like would honor little Ellyn. And if that's
Yeah.
the impact, if that's the legacy, is just on like honoring what this little person who was unaffected and unafflicted by culture and society until society weighed down,
Yeah.
like that's a
That's
good,
great.
yeah, that's a good barometer of like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Is like, how
Right.
do I help little
Exactly.
Ellyn? How do I help other little Ellens?
That's what I was just going to say, because and I think it's so beautiful, the fact that we've decided to start this podcast and like showcase our journey, right? As we're going through the motions and all that type of stuff, we can inspire people. It's like
Yeah.
us honoring our younger selves gives someone else the faith or something that they can do that too. And
Mm.
I think that's why my word of the year literally is inspire. And it was just
Oh, I
like,
love that.
because it's like, well, when I do what I'm supposed to do, what I feel that I'm purposed to do or called to do, when I do that, there's something that I can't see that's going on outside of me. But when I focus on my purpose and I'm
Mm.
intentional about my purpose and my passion and pursuing what I'm called to, there's all sorts of things happening in the realm that I just wouldn't even fathom. And when we think about it, like the people who we look up to or who have totally like, inspired us, the people that we look up to, they were doing what they were called to do.
Mm.
And that's what made us feel like, you know what? I can do this too in my own unique way as Aja, as Ellyn.
Yeah.
Um, and it does. It makes more people self-aware of who they are today, how they were years ago, and maybe how they want to get back to that and expound
Mm.
upon it or whatever it is. That's just, it's so important.
I was thinking and talking the other day with my friend about like the privilege of being able to do what it is I want to do and pursue this. And I often oscillate with, who are you to think that you should be able to pursue your dream when there's other people who are struggling to put food on the table? And then there's the other time of like, it is the word privilege has, we were talking about this before offline, but like words have such different meanings and contexts as they progress in time. And like the word privilege is like, oh, it's a privilege. It's an honor to do something. Yeah. And then the word privilege started to take on a new meaning based on talking about like when you have privilege in a situation, two things can be true. It can be such a privilege to have the wherewithal, the space, the time, the financial opportunity, like all of it. It is such a privilege. I feel so blessed in a lot of ways. It's not like it just came out of nowhere. It's not like I didn't earn this. It's not like I didn't do the work. No, it's not. So there's also that. So I feel like an honor and sense of privilege that I can do what I'm trying to do and also try to be respectful of the fact that like maybe not everybody does get to do this.
Is able to do that.
And able to do that. And
that's true.
Think about how, I struggle with like, I'm proud that I put myself in a position to be able to do this. Cause it's not like there's nobody paying the bill. Like there's nobody that's ever put me, I'm still paying college loan. Like I'm still paying student loans. Like I don't, we struggled in our house growing up financially. Like, I struggle with the idea of this.
I wasn't handed things on a silver platter.
Exactly. And so I struggle with the idea of like doing this, you know what I mean? And also there's that like deep-seated fear of like, no, you just get a good job. Like you get a good job, you become a productive member of society. That's, you pay your taxes. Like that was the path. And, I think about all of it and I struggle with, the idea of like, who am I to get to do this? Like whatever.
Oh, don't struggle with that.
Yeah.
Why?
But I don't know. Like, I just think there, I don't know. I think there's just like a huge, like, you come to this country as I get older, like I think more and more about like the journey of my family has taken, and like you come to this country and you fold into what this country is and you just become like just contribute to society, become successful, like pay your bills, like take care of your family. The idea of like pursuing your dream.
That's what America's about.
Yeah. I think that just like in my family, it wasn't like, in my family, it just, I don't know, it feels a little different. It doesn't feel like America, like land of opportunity, pursue your dream, open a business, follow your dream. It was like, no, like get a good job and like become a member of society in America. Gotcha. I think there was a little bit more like employee mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get a good job and like take care of your family, get a good job, get a job that pays money. Like that was really, get a job that pays money.
That's a good job.
I can tell you my parents are not like, these are good jobs. We're happy with our job. Like they got jobs that took care of our family.
Yeah.
And there was no career. They were jobs. My sister has a career. My sister has a career that she's really passionate about. She's really happy with. And it's like, I think I look at that being like, wow, like, oh my God, I could cry. I'm so proud of her. I look at that and I'm just like, that's so amazing that like we came here, nobody came here, whatever. My family got here. My parents, like they didn't graduate college, like don't have like that background, and the fact that like my sister was able to like do that. And she's like the first generation that's like in a career she's passionate about. And she's like has a family and she's like raising her son to like want to do whatever he wants to do, right? Like whatever you have passion, whatever excites you, like that's such like an exciting thing to see generationally like change. And it's not get just a good job, get a job that pays well and takes care. And so it's kind of like I feel like I'm in this like in between of like, don't just get a good job that pays well. Don't just get a job that pays well. Like, you do something that you feel passionate about and feel excited about.
That lights a
that
fire.
wasn't necessarily like the narrative.
Right.
You know, being able to see even like impact and legacy, like from my sister to my nephew, of like, she just wants him to like exist,
follow his and live
freely and live. You like cars, we're gonna celebrate cars. He's very melodic and very into music and very loves to sing, so he's in music class. You know, he swims at this pool. They put him into the swimming lessons. He likes to swim. Like they just, and like I think that I see that with like what my parents did. Like they put us into all the things, like, you know, fine, you know, but they felt more just like recreational, extracurricular.
Yeah.
And then they did. They put me in I was in theater classes. I had music coach. Like I did all that stuff I was really passionate about, but it was never made to be like, I don't think I felt any support in like, and I've had this conversation with my mother, so she would, you know, they get it.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt support in like, this could be a career for you. If this is your passion, figure out a way to make money at it. Let's figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, let's work on that. Let's figure that out. Instead of it was like, no, you have to go to college and like, that's your fallback plan.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 years and over $80,000 of debt is not a fallback plan. That's a fucking lifetime commitment. Like,
man,
like, I'm still paying for my fallback plan. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 35 and I'm pursuing the goal now. Like, what? This is a problem. This is a little bit backwards in our, you know, culture. Oof. But like the idea that you can make money at a passion, I think that just really wasn't a part of the narrative for me. And so I think for me, it's like, there's so many things that I want to like change the script on, right? Like, I don't want to like, you know, I've been talking about just like women's bodies and like access and all these different things. And it's like, I want to talk about these things because I want to change the narrative. I want us to like, right now in culture, there is such a backslide happening about plus size bodies because everyone is losing a lot of weight, and people culturally are now like, thin and skinny is the new norm because, you know, as a culture, like trends repeat, and we're kind of in that like 90s early aughts vibe, which was like cocaine chic, unfortunately, which was everyone was like Kate Moss, and that's not necessarily like what everybody wants. And like I don't want us to go back there, right. And so like I want to help not have us go back there. So if I'm thinking about, okay, like, well, what are you doing? What do you want to see the world? How do you want to leave the world behind? It's like, you know, pursue your passions, find a way to make that work. Like, don't let, you know, let's change the way we talk about bodies. How about we just don't talk about someone's body? Like, period. You know, it's, I think for me in my mind, it's like, those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about of like impact, you know, even on a small level. Like I was talking with my girlfriends and I was just like, why are we talking about people's bodies? Like, when did this become a thing? It feels very 2016. Like, why is everyone talking about people's body? Like Ozempic face? Like, get the fuck out of here. Wow. It bothers me like to no end. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to contribute to the narrative of like, we're not going to talk about people's bodies. Right. Exactly. Impact.
That's what I'm
That's how I'm impacting the conversation.
In my corner. Okay.
Yeah. In my corner.
Right.
Pursue your passion. Don't diminish your light. Don't talk about people's bodies.
Mind your business.
Yeah, mind your P's and Q's. I wonder where that comes from, P's and Q's.
I don't know. Because I
have no idea what that means.
Yeah. Mind your P's and Q's. That's a question for Google.
Yeah. Alexa,
I don't know it.
What does mind your P's and Q's mean?
Oh, really? Where did it come from?
Yeah, but what do the P and the Q mean? That's the question. Like, she's telling me, like, mind your manners. Girl, I get that.
Right. But I think the question is, where did it come from?
Yeah, like, what does P and Q mean?
Where does P?
Because I also, like, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's. Get that too.
I get that.
You know, that's very visual.
That makes sense. You got to follow through. You got to dot the I.
Dot the I's and cross your T's.
The T.
Otherwise, you don't know which one is what.
That's right. Yeah.
Detail. But what the heck is a P and a Q?
Your P's and your Q's. I'm thinking P's and Q's stand for something like mind
Like
your
mind
something
your
and your
person
questions.
and your questions. That's what I would think. Like mind your person
Maybe.
and your question.
That makes sense
Mind
to
your
me.
place. Mind your place in your question. I don't know.
I don't know.
Not idea.
Somebody
No idea.
tell us.
Whoever came up with that didn't have much impact or legacy because we don't know where it came from. I'm just kidding.
All we know is their phrase. Who made it up? We don't know.
And that's what they've left behind for us, you know? That's what's
Mind
left
your P's and
behind.
Q's.
Mind your P's and
Exactly.
Q's.
It was
I'm
something.
so curious. Comment below if you know
I
what that
will
means because
be.
we're not going to research
Please
it.
tell us.
We're not going to look it up. We'll just wait till this comes out. And if you know, comment below.
Please share.
We're going to be sitting here waiting with bated breath.
Literally. Oh my gosh.
I'm like, and they said.
We're going to reply with a video.
Yeah.
Down the line.
Could you imagine?
Okay, now we know.
Hey, everyone. Just wanted to let you know in case you also haven't researched this since we spoke about it. P's and Q's
means X and Y.
You know what? Also, I would be remiss if I didn't actually speak, though, about my Nani's, like, legacy and impact. Like,
yes.
She, obviously, matriarch of, like, a very large family.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously came here when she was, like, a little girl on the boat. Classic. And she worked for the town that we grew up in. And she kind of became known in the town. My Nonu was also very involved in the town, but she like worked for the municipality on the payroll, you know, government employee. And that is a good job. If you want to talk about a good job, that's a good job. You got the holidays, you got the pension, you got the insurance,
the benefits.
Yeah. If you are going to just exist in a career or a job, I would recommend government work. Mm-hmm. Bank holidays. Okay. Another off topic. But she was working with the, I can't remember. I think I talked about this in like another episode. I still don't know what her actual title was. Like the Board of Health, like Director of Board of Health or Director of Board of Health, whatever. But she worked with a lot of the like health and safety in the town, taking care and making sure people had housing in the town, making sure people were like fed, had food, you know, anyone that was on any kind of assistance programs were like that the programs were funded by the state, all of that stuff. So she worked there for years. And I remember running into the municipal building, totally thinking this was normal because just my nani and like, doesn't everybody's nani just like work like in the municipal building, like running in
or the city?
Yeah. Like my mom would take us and we'd run in and we'd go like hang out in her office and I'd like type on her typewriter and like, it was like a whole thing. And she became known by like the cops and people in town. They'd like call her Nice Mary. Because she was so nice. Like everyone called her Nice Mary. She was so nice.
Mary.
Yeah. And she was, you know, because she had like 6 kids. So that was a lot of kids to go through like the school system. And everybody, you know, she's like, Pele was like a known name in the town, thanks to her and my Nonu and having 6 children. You know, and just I think about there has been like light conversation. She's very at peace with life, I'll call it. She's very ready to meet her maker whenever that comes. It's become a little bit of like, it's a bit morbid. It's a bit of a running joke now at this point.
Yeah.
With her, she's like, I'm just ready to go. Jesus, the Lord above. I feel like she's been ready since I was younger, but like whatever. My Nonu passed when I was very young, so she's been without him for a very long time.
Okay.
And there's just been like light conversation about like at her funeral, if God forbid, knock on wood, everything, not soon.
Yes.
But she is 94. But my nonna lived to 102, her mom. Wow. You know, so, you know, whatever.
Longevity.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Mediterranean diet? You want to talk about olive oil? You want to talk about red wine?
Olive oil. Okay.
These are things that keep you on this planet. But yeah, we talked about just like how large her funeral, you know, will be potentially.
Yeah.
You know, she was like honored being in the 4th of July parade and she's gotten town awards. You know, I've like gone home from the city to like go to these like dinners at the Knights of Columbus or the Elks Club or whatever, because she's being honored with an award or a town award and she's got the, you know, all the things. I'm like, I'm surprised they haven't she lives across the street from a park. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it hasn't been named for her, to be honest.
Wow.
Because like this town, it's like the town is just, she is the town.
It
The
revolves
town is
around
her.
her.
Yeah. You know, she's just always been, very, very involved. And obviously she's gotten older. She's kind of like, removed from public life.
Of course.
But obviously still very like, known
She's
and
paid her
involved.
dues.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The town's it's an interesting town because the town had back in the day, 50s, 60s, whatever, very like Mayberry, New Jersey, like very like big town family names, like a lot of big families, and people very much knew each other, like suburbs of New York, but it was just far enough away, like before the turnpike even existed. Like,
oh wow.
Oh, bro, let me tell you. I mean, so anyways, so it's very like idyllic. And then it just like changed very, very quickly because it is a suburb of New York and everybody moved out of the city and came to the town, and the culture and it just totally changed. But there's like these like remnants of the old town, and then there's all these like new young like upstart type people. And then you just got like Mary there, just it's so weird to say her name.
Mary.
Nice Mary. It's so weird to say her name. She's my nanny.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think she's like, I wanted to live a quiet life. I didn't, I just wanted to live like a small life. I just wanted to have my kids and my family, like da da da. And I think without even like trying, because she is somebody who like does think about other people and does like, she says like her 2 hours of rosary beads every day, praying for all the people.
Oh, I love that.
So I think without thinking about impact and thinking about legacy, kind of probably similar to Great Uncle Wayne, Uncle Butch, which I love that.
Yeah.
Like you leave an impact and you leave a legacy almost like unintentionally, just by like living well and living kind and living.
That's right.
Living for others, because that's the job. That was her job. Her career is like in service.
Yeah, exactly.
And she only did it like after her kids left the house. Like,
oh wow,
she got involved with the town, I think, like after the kids were out of the house. Like, okay, what do we do now?
Keep myself busy or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
She used to walk to the office. Yeah.
After she had already raised all of her kids.
She lived a full
still
on
out here living.
That's what I'm saying. Like, talk about like first act, second act, third act, fourth act. Like,
legit.
She had a full on like went and worked at the municipal building.
I love that you mentioned that first act, second act. What would you say you're in?
I'm the second act. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm in the second act. Because I was talking to my dad and he was like, oh yeah, I worked at that job for like 11 years. And I worked at this job for like 15 years. And now I'm at this job for like 10 years. Like he was saying it like that, like in decade type thing. And I was like, are you joking? I'm making the first big move in my life. You know what I mean? Like I'm making a career change. Like I look at my dad like owned a business with my uncle at one point. My dad, like, he was in the military. Like, my mom was like, she was working at United for decades. Like, there's just and then, like, then you, like, raise kids. Like, there's just so much life to be lived.
So much.
You know? And I'm just like, oh, that's a big commitment, a full life. Like, whoa, actually, if you think about it, that's a long time. That's a lot of life to live. That's a long time to live. It's a lot of life.
A lot of things to do.
And it's like, I don't like to think too far into the future because it does get me like, I get anxiety about like, what's going to happen? What's going to like
the uncertainty.
The uncertainty of it. And I'm like, honestly, it's not my business. My business is to live today and to live well and to
absolutely
kind and responsible about who I am as a human being. But like, to hear someone talk about their life and like, oh, I worked there for 15 years. Oh, I worked here for 10.
I mean, that's how things work, because after you've gotten some years on you, you can say
even just working somewhere for that long.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh my God, I can't relate.
But even think, I know you don't like to think about in the future, but if you're living your life on purpose in 20 plus years, you can be like, oh man, I've owned my own business for 25 plus years, or you know what I mean? Like that's just literally how the cookie crumbles when time
like best
passes.
case scenario. Imagine 20 years from now and I'm like, I don't know, a bookshop owner in South Dakota, and you're like, how the heck did I get here? I find those stories from people so fascinating. Of like,
it is.
That's why I love talking to people and interviewing people, because I'm just like, what brought you here?
Today?
Like, how did you get here? And it's just like, like I just watched the Olympics. This will date this episode, but I was watching the Olympics, and this woman won gold for cycling. She started cycling 7 years ago.
I saw that.
You saw this, right?
Yes.
After she went to school for rowing, graduated, had a career in venture capitalism, and took up cycling as a hobby.
Right? Listen.
You know what I'm saying?
An inspiration.
Truly an inspiration.
Yeah.
You
totally
have
changed
hundreds
the
of
freaking
acts
trajectory
in your
of her life.
Entire life.
Absolutely.
You know? You just never know. Could go outside and start swimming tomorrow.
and be the next Ledecky.
I'll be at the LA Olympics in 4 years.
The LA Olympics. Did you catch that? Totally different.
And you know what's so funny is people are like, how long are you going to stay in LA? How long are you going to stay in LA? I was like, I will definitely be here through the Olympics in 2028. I have always wanted to go to an Olympics. Always.
Okay.
My whole life.
And wait, is it going to be in LA?
2028.
I didn't know that.
Summer Olympics.
Really?
There be square. Are you joking?
Did not know that.
And I live at the ocean. Do you know what they do for triathlons? Ocean swimming.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll all be healed from getting E. coli poisoning in the Seine. It's not good. It's not a good look. But
okay.
Who can say this ocean's probably not much better because our drainage system drains into the ocean, which like what? California's like so green and so everything. And I'm just like, why are the drains draining into the ocean? Why is it after a storm, I see debris and dirt in the water? Like that's a problem. Whatever. We're talking about impact.
Fix that.
Reroute the drains. Anyway, so I joke around. I'll be like, I'll be here till LA 2028, you know? Catch me at the Olympics. I will be my goal is to either go and work there as a volunteer or to be in my bag enough that I could be like buying tickets to all the events
or something.
A host.
Okay.
Oh,
host.
You said it. Host.
You said it. Host. Yes.
Sorry, Snoop Dogg. We have gone with a different direction. Alex Cooper, she's got the torch. Well, I will tell you, Alex Cooper, she's the girl who does the Call Her Daddy podcast. She has a live show, like 3 or 4 nights of the Olympics, where it's her and other celebrities, and then like a sports specific person, who like knows the sport, like watching live, and it's her commentating and talking to celebs.
Perfect.
I'm like, oh my god, that format was built for me. I'll see you in LA.
2028. Catch her outside.
Catch me outside. How about that?
How about that?
How about that? She did say it. She was like, how about that? How about that? Where is that from? But there you go. That's impact. That's legacy. Have we impacted you as you've been listening to this? Comment below.
We pray that we have.
Comment
below.
At
least up until this point, because you've been listening and you've heard something. There was something that we said. We pray.
Think about,
or you just love our interactions with each other, and that's fine.
And tell a friend about the podcast, and then tell us that you watched and listened to the podcast or listened.
Tell
or whatever.
us what you liked. What particular time stamp in the video?
There are people tell us timestamps that you liked. I know people that are listening and watching, and I know they tell me, and then I'm like, oh my god, really?
You really want?
And I really appreciate it. So if you're listening right now or if you're watching, just drop a little comment, drop a little line on our social or on the video itself or on our whatever. Just tell us.
How about we do this? We have a word right now. Because if you've made it to this point in the video, let us know by commenting the word legacy or impact.
Yeah, legacy or impact.
Just legacy. Just that.
Legacy. What song am I singing? Legacy,
Jay-Z.
Legacy. Thank you.
It's literally called Legacy.
Every episode, there is just a little bit of a song that has to be sung.
It has to be sung. We can't end it without it.
In my mind, I was hearing loyalty, loyalty, loyalty.
Okay, wow.
I'm so LA.
She's so Compton.
I hang out with Kendrick all the time.
K-Dot.
Yeah, so comment legacy or comment impact.
Yes, if you've made it this far in the video.
And thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this movement, this journey.
Absolutely. Definitely a movement. Speak that, Ellyn.
Yeah. I think that this is the beginning. Just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for being on this journey with us. It's truly an honor for us
I
to
love doing
share
this.
our.
I love doing this.
Seriously, it helps us to be more accountable to ourselves, to really see where we're allowed to see where we've grown and where we've come from and how we've progressed and all those great things. So
Yeah.
thank y'all for listening, truly.
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And that concludes today's episode. But Ellyn, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me at Instagram and TikTok at Ellyn with a Y, ELLYNWITHAY, all spelled out.
Yes, it is
Where
a phrase.
I am.
Her handle
Where can
is
they
a phrase.
find? Yeah, thank you. It's a phrase. Where can they find you, Aja?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and the TikTok at Aja Moye Music. That's AJAMOYE Music on those platforms. Yeah.
And we come out episodes every. That is a backward sentence. Episode. We come out every episode. Every episode comes out on Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays. That's right. Catch us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen, you can watch, join in, you can interact with us on social. We love that too. We love to hear from you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. The Regents Podcast. The Regents Podcast.